So to do a birdcage in a book, first of all you'll need your book. So you need to find the centre of your book. To start with, and the number of pages that you fold will depend on the paper that's in your book. Roughly on average it's usually about 100 pages, but if the paper is very thick you may need less than that. So the fold is very simple. You just start from the top corner and work your way and crease like so, and then bring it to the centre spine of the book and crease again. I recommend that you do 20 pages on that side and 20 pages on that side, and until you have a nice tight bird cage that will hold its shape when it's like that. You need, roughly speaking, about 20 to 30 cutout pages in the centre for the aperture. So then you'll just need to allow some pages on either side. It's very difficult to work out how many folds you need and how many you need to cut out, because every book is different and the paper is different. For example, in this book I've folded 80 pages in total, 40 on one side and 40 on the other, and I did that in stages. I folded 20 to start with on that side, 20 on that side, and then I did another 10 and then another 10, and I just continued until I was happy with the fullness of the bird cage. So I'm going to start with this one, which is 80 pages. So to work out where you want your aperture, again, it depends on what you want to put inside your aperture. I'm using a tealight candle. So what I do is I do it all by eye. I don't do any measuring, because depending on the height of your book it will be different. So what I usually do is I'll offer up whatever it is that I want to put in my aperture onto the centre of the book. And then by eye I'll kind of work out roughly where I'd like it to, the shelf for the tealight to start. So it's somewhere around this area here. So if you find again the centre of your book, which will have a fold going one way and a fold going the other way, offer up your tealight or whatever it is that you'd like to put in the aperture. And I think about there looks okay. So I'm going to use the text of the page as my cutting guide, and I'm going to cut out all the way to the spine. So again, for the top fold I'm going to offer up my tealight. I like to leave a gap at the top for ribbon or lace, so I'm going to think it's going to be somewhere around about here. So again, I'm going to use the text in the book as my cutting guide, and I'm going to cut all the way to the centre. So I'm going to cut 10 on this side and 10 on this side, and then I'm going to have a look and see if that aperture is then big enough for my tealight and if I'm happy with it. So I've removed 20 pages from the inside of my aperture. So once I've cut them, you just gently lift them out to make sure that you try not to take too much, leave too much in that bit in the centre. I'll just do one more so I can show you how I tore them all out. So just going to cut all the way down to the centre of the spine again on both sides, and then if you gently lift up one corner and lift up at the other. The bit in the middle should lift out okay, not too bad. You can tidy this bit up in the middle with a craft knife and just remove those little burrs. They will be covered up with a piece of card, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop some hot glue down the spine, top and bottom of my book, and pull it all together, which will lift your work forward, and you'll be able to get a better idea of where the aperture is going to sit within your book. Put some hot glue down, and I'm using a pair of scissors because the glue is going to be very hot. I'm just going to hold it against the spine of the book, and then turn it over and repeat it with the bottom of the book. So just use the scissors to force the spine to the book, like so, and then just slightly hold the book in because that will be its finishing position. Now, as you can see, although I started in the middle, the aperture looks to be quite one-sided. Now, I'm not sure the reason it does this sometimes. I think it may have something to do with the binding of the book. So that's why I like to glue the spine and have a look at it, because it's all about eye. It doesn't matter what the measurements are on either side, as long as it looks like it's central, which it doesn't. So what you'll need to do is just start removing pages on this side of the book only until that aperture looks even, basically. So all books are different, so it's a really difficult project to give you exact measurements on. This book that I'm using for this is, let's see, it's about 19.5 centimetre book. So for that I have roughly cut at 4.5 centimetres from the bottom, and then 11 centimetres for the top cut. But as I said, depending on the size of your book, those measurements will probably work out different. So I'm going to take out another 5 pages on just this side only, and then I'm going to stop and have another look and see where I'm at. So I've removed a further 6 pages from the centre of this side, and when I hold the book slightly closed, the aperture does shrink. So let's pop my tea light in and let's have a look and see. So I'm happy enough with that. It looks like it's central to the book. The tea light fits in okay. So at this point, as you can see, I've got a little one there that's just a little bit longer, so you could trim your shelves so that they're all perfectly the same height. And then I'm going to just remove these little points by just snipping them off. So my book's now ready for me to start decorating. So I've taken a piece of nice printed paper, and I'm going to line that up with the pages in the book and push it right up against the spine as far as it will go. And then I'm going to turn the book over and I'm going to draw a line to mark where I need to cut the page out. Should fit in nice and tight to cover up those pages of the book. So I'm going to pull the book forward and pop a bit of hot glue onto that page, and then just line up that page again and push it down, and then repeat with the other side. So I've covered the inside pages of my book, and I've taken a little piece of this cardstock that I had cut off, and I've just measured it in the gap basically, and folded it in half, and then I've cut a little tiny corner out of each side because I've still got quite a bit of page mess left in that little gap. So I'm just going to pop that in and try it to make sure it fits, which it does. So I'm going to pop a little bit of hot glue in there, and then the same on the other side. And then I'm just going to trim off the excess. On both sides. So that's your centerpiece to cover up any bits you have in there. So the next stage is to attach your ribbon or lace. I'm using a piece of lace here. So I'm going to line that up with the bird cage. I'm going to have it slightly overhanging that gap, and then I'm going to trim it off like so. And do the same for the bottom. So I'm going to turn my book this way, and I'm going to bring it in and pop some hot glue on the back of the lace, hold it down, and just slightly pull it slightly tight, not too tight, and then do the same with the piece on the top, being very careful because hot glue is extremely hot. So that should be dry. So I'm going to now bring up the book to meet the bird cage, pop a bit of hot glue onto the book, just hold it for a few seconds to dry, and then I'm going to do the same on the opposite side. Cut a little bit of that off, that's a little bit too much. Again, a bit of hot glue on the back of the lace. And then the same again with the top piece. And then again I'm going to pop some hot glue on the back of the book and the spine, and then hold the book closed. And then that's given me a nice lace trim. So at this point you can adjust any pages if you feel like you've got a few gaps, and then I'm just going to pop a bit of hot glue just across there to hold that lace and the pages in place, and do the same across the top. So I have these little bird owl little embellishments that were actually a necklace that I deconstructed to use the charm. So I'm just going to attach that to the lace, so that will hang in the aperture. And pop my tea light in the back there. If you want to, you can attach your owl or bird or embellishment with a bit of hot glue to just hold it in place. There we go. So all that's left now is to add a few flowers and butterflies and any other embellishments that you'd like. I like to put a tassel on the top, which again I had from some necklaces that I deconstructed. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I look forward to doing many more. Happy crafting!